So Uber just pulled off one of the worst PR disasters in recent times in Toronto. Today, we need to talk about a situation where we had an Uber driver that accidentally, allegedly I should say, drove off with a passenger's 5-year-old daughter in the back seat. This is a pretty crazy situation all around. It's less about the driver and it's more so about Uber itself that we're going to have to discuss about, because this is a very terrifying experience for the parents. And I can only imagine what they went through, but we're going to break down the situation on how this whole thing manifested, and we're just going to talk about it more from there. Julia's 5-year-old daughter fell asleep in the far back row during the ride. Once they arrived, everyone was getting out of their vehicle, and the couple discussed aloud their plan for how to unload everyone. Julia would grab the garage door opener from her car so that they could all get inside the house, while her boyfriend started unloading the other 3 kids and their car seats and the winter coats from the Uber. Julia would then carry her sleeping daughter, the one from the back seat, the furthest back seat, out of the vehicle once the path to the back seat was cleared. I'm returning to the road and I realized the car. It's gone. So as you just heard right there, they were openly communicating what they were going to do to unload the vehicle of both like the personal items and the kids. After the boyfriend clears out the middle seats and he's walking away, the wife finally then, comes back to the road and she realizes that the Uber driver is gone, as well as her 5-year-old daughter. Of course, she is panicking, and I can only imagine that once again. She is not understanding what happened. She just turns her back for like a minute or two and suddenly the driver drives off and he's nowhere in sight. So it's been like a minute since they've come back and suddenly they're gone. You kind of have to think to yourself, like, how do you manage to do something like that? Just drive off with a whole 5-year-old child in the backseat of your car. Like, this isn't like a premium luggage that was just overlooked and is just missing all of a sudden. No, it's an actual child. Like, there are checkpoints in airports that are more thorough than this. So of course the parents, Julia and the boyfriend themselves, are panicking over this situation. That's not a surprise. Of course they would panic, and they would do what any parent would do the moment their child are missing. They're going to contact local authorities. They're going to contact Uber in this situation because the child is inside of an Uber car. Mother reaches out. She's stunned in disbelief. Only grew when she says that the Uber representatives refused to help them or the Toronto police contact the driver. All we wanted was for them to contact the driver. That's it, and they refuse. This is not a purse or a phone left behind. It was a 5-year-old child on a winter night. And she's absolutely right. I don't understand what Uber's making so difficult in collaborating with the parents and the police officers to locate where the child is and save the child. That's really it. I don't understand why Uber makes it so difficult. There's times I've left my AirPods or maybe my wallet, and I get better customer service experience getting those personal items back. But my God, the moment it's like a child, it's like, oh, well, there's some things that we gotta go through before we actually can disclose some information on the driver. And with that said, we have the Uber's guidelines for law enforcement that say emergency disclosure requests must be submitted through the company's public safety response portal or by email using its emergency disclosure form. So I did a little bit of digging on that. There is a page in the Uber website where you can look this up. Emergency disclosure requests may be submitted via the portal or via email with an emergency disclosure form attached. Because of its commitment to safety on its platform, Uber has processes in place to respond to emergency requests on a 24/7 basis. To submit the emergency disclosure request, law enforcement must, and there's a few things that they have to meet, such as certify that they are authorized by law to obtain the requested records, certify that the request is in fact related to an emergency involving the danger of death or serious physical injury that requires disclosure without delay of information relating to that emergency, and finally state that there is a significant risk that the emergency may materialize if there is a delay caused by obtaining valid local legal process. Let me tell you this right now. Imagine you being face to face. You are a Uber representative and you're speaking face to face with a mother and a father who is panicking, frantic, over their child disappearing in an Uber car and local law enforcement side by side with the parents, and you as a representative tells them, oh no, we're not able to disclose the driver's information or anything like that, you have to fill out this form. Well, law enforcement specifically has to fill out this form, and we'll look at the form, or we'll look at the request, and we'll let you know if it's justified that we disclose the information. We like to take these things at a case-by-case basis. Like, imagine saying that with a straight face to, like, parents that are, like, in complete distress. I wouldn't be surprised if the mother or the father took a swing at you. Like, how dare you present, like, a form, maybe a digital form, or a piece of paper telling them, yeah, we're not doing all that, we're not going to disclose the information, but you have to fill out that form, though. Like, it's so petty for a situation so severe, so urgent. Again, this isn't, like, lost and found. It's not. We're talking about an actual child that could possibly go missing, and you're delaying the process as is. Like, it's so ironic that you're like, oh, we want to make sure that, you know, we protect everybody, so you have to submit this form, and then we'll assess if, you know, there shouldn't be any delays or anything like that. Uber, you are literally delaying the process as is. Just give them the fucking information. I can only imagine how angry Julia must feel. Like, she must have been punching, like, her phone, like the Uber app specifically, like it owed her money. The Toronto police were able to reach the driver, and they were able to save the 5-year-old daughter. The driver was unaware that the child was still in the vehicle, Sawyer said in an email. When the officers arrived, the child was found in good health. I mean, that's a good thing. That's always a good thing that the child was able to reunite with the family and everything like that. The child was A-okay. The police officers did their job without the help of Uber. Julia says it took about an hour and a half for the police officers to find her 5-year-old. Officers then drove Julia to her daughter, who was, unquote, unharmed, but in hysterics. Police found the girl and the driver around 20 kilometers away from her boyfriend's house in the city's north end. Julia's boyfriend later received a $10 credit from Uber, which she considers a massive slap in the face. That is a lot. It goes from one thing like, oh, all right, nice, they were able to find the daughter. All right, well, you know, the daughter's in good health and everything. Wait, a $10 credit? For what? For inconvenience? For bad customer service? Like, hello? $10 is, I think to say a slap in the face is an understatement. $10 credit for the fact that your driver drove off with a passenger's child is an insult. It's almost like assault in the wound. Like, yeah, sorry you were traumatized and you were left with the impression that your child was actively getting kidnapped. Here's $10. Don't spend it all in one place. Oops. Again, it's not like I was dealing with bad customer service experiences. It was far deeper than that. A driver literally drove off with my daughter. How did this driver not know that there was one other passenger in his car? Does this driver not make sure that everyone is clear from his vehicle before he can drive off and call the ride completed? And they also mentioned that the driver drove 20 kilometers away. This is on Google. 20 kilometers for the smooth brain American folks like myself here, that is equivalent to 12 and a half miles. So I took it a step further and decided, okay, how far is 12 and a half miles, or roughly at least? So that's basically beelining it from Times Square, 42nd Street, all the way to JFK Airport. Now, mind you, New York City is a very big city. And 12 miles is literally crossing like almost half of Manhattan and crossing straight past Brooklyn and Queens to get to the JFK Airport. And that is in an hour and a half. Like, imagine you're a child being scooped up in the middle of 42nd Street in an Uber and being driven to JFK Airport in an hour and change time. That is terrifying. And then you're probably thinking, all right, well, how is Uber responding to this? What are they saying about this? I mean, the $10 credit is absolutely insane there. So that alone should be it for Uber. But of course, Uber just has to add more salt into the wound with these statements. An Uber spokesperson said in a statement that the safety of everyone who uses the platform is the company's top priority. We recognize how distressing the situation was for the family involved and are thankful that the child was safely reunited with their parents. We immediately began reviewing the details of this incident internally to identify opportunities to improve our processes and support system. The company will then add that its support team followed Uber's standard protocols, which are designed to protect the privacy and safety of all users. Uber says its team advised the rider, Julia, I would assume, to contact law enforcement, and when the police reached out, the company shared its protocol for an expedited request. Once Uber received the request, the company said it supported the solution. There is so much delay to that. I don't fucking get it. Like, imagine going to the parents saying, oh, well, we can't really do anything about it. We need the police officers. All right, I have a police officer. All right, can you do something about it now? Can I have information to the driver? Not yet. The police officer needs to fill out a form before we can actually do something, and that's if we accept the request. Like, I swear to God, Uber, if this is your standard protocol when it comes to safety and protection of the users that use the platform, like Julia and her boyfriend and the kids that were with them at the time, you need to burn this policy from the ground up because it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, that whole statement was literally a copy and paste corporate business lingo. Like, of course, biz corporate is gonna be like, yeah, we're looking into this. We only recognize just how distressing this must be for the parents. No, you didn't recognize it because they didn't fill out the form. The police officers literally found the child without your help. So how do you recognize the severity of a situation if there was no form? Oh, which one is it? You see what you did there? I got you. And this isn't like an isolated mistake. This has to be there's like a level of systematic failure that's taking place here. It's like as if there's no built-in checks for systems like this when it comes to ride-sharing apps. Behind that little Uber icon or Lyft icon, there is literally a multi-billion-dollar business that's operating behind that icon. And again, the fact that they're getting away from accountability, whereas if a child was missing in a public transit, then of course the public transit would be held accountable. But because it's Uber, because it's Lyft, then it's like, terms and conditions apply when you want to talk about accountability here. And it's so wild because there's no final sweep or confirmations to ensure that everybody's, not even just personal belongings, but make sure every passenger, including children, are out of the vehicle. I really feel there was a level of negligence on the driver's part. It's not like you're dropping off fucking groceries. You're dropping off human beings. Yeah, of course, human error will always be a thing, but you need to have safeguards for when you're providing a service to people, especially kids. It's all about having a system that assumes that mistakes like these can't happen, and we have backup plans and safeguards to ensure that there's ways to prevent it, and if it does happen, okay, how can we correct this mistake? I don't think Uber has that at all. It's just, oh, geez, your 5-year-old child is stuck in an Uber? Sounds like somebody's getting a free ride. I'm sorry. That was completely out of touch. But you need to fill out this form, and we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can. It's just completely unacceptable because now Uber is looking at human beings, especially minors, like fucking lost baggage. And that's really all I have. It's just so fucking dumb. But let me know what you think. Do you feel that there needs to be a complete revamp of their safety policies? Do you feel there needs to be a few tweaks? Or do you think it's completely fine the way it is considering the circumstances that manifested before us? But until then, that's about it, y'all. Take care. Peace.